Right now, tracking more snow moving into the state along with breezy conditions, how the snow could impact our morning drive.
It has been 3 years since the first COVID-19 case was found here in Utah. New at 9, a look at how far we've come since then and where we still have to go.
Utah teachers taking time off for mental health.
If you are unwell and unable to perform your job, you need to take a sick day.
But an email in one district is setting off a chain reaction tonight, one that has some in Utah fired up.
It was a peculiar liquor law here in Utah that was only recently removed. But tonight, the infamous Zion Curtain could be resurrected.
In a state that has a population that is mostly white, do Black Utah citizens feel welcome? We have an open conversation on the Black experience in Utah tonight.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
A blizzard has shut down more than 70 miles of I-80 in California near Lake Tahoe. This is a live look at I-80 near Donner Pass. California Highway Patrol is pleading with drivers to stay home as they had to rescue stuck motorists all day who ignored their pleas.
Let's go now to Utah's Weather Authority. Meteorologist Allison Krogan. Allison, was that storm we just saw headed now to Utah?
That's right. So California certainly getting the brunt of this storm, but we'll also have some widespread snow here across the state. But right now our snow is Elko and further west. As we're getting ready for bed tonight, this will become a bit more widespread into the overnight hours. It'll continue to move through. So by 7 o'clock in the morning, we are expecting areas of snow for much of the state tomorrow morning. Temperatures around 20 to 30 degrees for most of Utah tomorrow morning. For the Wasatch Front, we will likely stay dry through at least 3 a.m. Then we'll start seeing that snow filling in tomorrow morning. For Salt Lake, 32 for a low, snow showers. Ogden, 29, snow showers late tonight. And for Provo, 28 degrees for an overnight low. Again, snow later tonight, early tomorrow morning. For your main weather headlines, we do have snow after midnight here across the state. Widespread tomorrow across Utah. Southern Utah, we see big impacts through Thursday morning. More on this storm coming up.
Allison, thank you. Utah's first COVID-19 case was discovered exactly 3 years ago today.
Low case numbers now have health officials looking forward to the country's public health emergency ending in May. But Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree shows us how some are still feeling the impact of the virus.
I think we're all really hopeful. I think most of us in public health are happy to return to all the other problems that we know we were ignoring for 2, if not 3 years.
After 3 long years, Dr. Alicia Nolan says the Utah Department of Health and Human Services is ready for the COVID-19 pandemic to come to an end.
It was something that, as somebody trained in public health and in medicine, I was concerned about hearing these reports and trying to understand what was true data and what was rumor was always difficult.
But there are Utahns still suffering from COVID's effects months after recovering from the virus.
It's not fun. I will be honest. This is not the way to live. Doing my best.
After months of pains, swelling, and ER visits, Holly Olson realized she had long COVID.
They ran all these tests. They thought I had leukemia. Just every possible disease out there.
Thousands of Utahns now belong to an online community of COVID-19 long haulers.
It would feel like my skin was burning, like in my arms or legs. I also had issues with GI issues. I lost my appetite. I couldn't eat things. Shortness of breath, and by month 4, I was pretty much bedbound.
Lisa O'Brien created the group and wants to raise more awareness around the strange symptoms of long COVID.
A lot of times they don't show up till 2 or 3 months after your infection, and so people don't really know to tie them to COVID.
These COVID survivors hoping the state and the country will dedicate more resources and funding toward long COVID.
We've all been injured by COVID, which that's the common denominator, right? And so we're all suffering, we're all hurting, we all need to come together, get the resources and help us to get better so we can live a healthy, normal life.
The Department of Health and Human Services will be launching a long COVID awareness campaign in the coming months. In Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
In southern Utah, a teen boy now behind bars after allegedly pointing a gun at 4 students outside Canyon View High School in Cedar City yesterday, placing the school on lockdown. Cedar City police say the suspect was a former student. Police say that he also assaulted a 5th student yesterday. The suspect was not arrested until this afternoon. His name is not being released because he is a minor.
Take a look at this. A car drove into a Subway restaurant in Holiday today after police say the driver's foot slipped off the brake and onto the gas pedal. Oh, happened just before 9 this morning at the Subway at 3900 South, 2300 East. Gratefully, nobody was hurt.
There was no one else in the lobby as well, and my employee that was here was in the back, heading to the back at the time when she went through. So he just heard it and just thought it was the oven falling over and turned around and saw a car. So
the district manager tells us despite the damage, the restaurant is still open.
We've now learned the identity of the construction worker killed in that roof collapse in Cache County yesterday. He was 52-year-old Rolando Castellanos Brasino. He last resided in Ogden. He was helping remove asbestos from a home that was set to be demolished. The recent snowfall and the age of that building were both to blame for this tragic accident.
More people have been charged in connection with a murder in Tooele County. Court documents indicate the mother of suspect Alex Moore and another man have been charged with obstruction of justice. Moore is accused of killing Anthony Bracamonte after Moore saw him inappropriately touching his mother while they were driving to Wendover. Moore is set to face a judge on March 6th.
And the Washington County School District is receiving some backlash after an email said a mental health day should not count as a sick day. The director of Human Resources says employees have been abusing days off when they're not actually struggling.
The district's teacher association tells Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser that the tone of the email could have been more understanding.
Mental health is health.
The debate over the definition of a mental health day has caused backlash among educators in the Washington County School District.
And the fact of the matter is, if you are unwell and unable to perform your job, you need to take a sick day.
2 weeks ago, the school district's executive director of HR sent an email expressing concern over a, quote, trend to take a much-needed break referred to as a mental health day. The email said employees can't use sick leave to, quote, get away from the stresses of work and enjoy some time off.
It just kind of hit some teachers where it hurt because they are feeling those mental health stresses.
That's Amy Barton, president of the Washington County Educators Association.
Teachers are also dealing with student trauma, and that affects teachers. We take that trauma onto ourselves quite often.
When Fox 13 News reached out for a comment, Lyle Cox referred to the second email he sent to all employees a week later. He apologized that it was not the goal to make anyone feel like their mental health was not important. However, he stood firm that staff are abusing policy when they are not actually experiencing mental health issues.
I think there was appreciation that he acknowledged that the tone of the first email did not help the delivery of the information.
Cox encouraged all employees to prioritize mental health. Barton hopes this won't lead teachers to shy away from being open about their struggles.
Let's acknowledge the realities so that we can work on real solutions.
Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The people are overwhelmingly asking you to vote no on this.
A bill for a new state flag has hit a snag.
The sago lilies, the beehive, the eagle.
Why some worry Utah's rich history is being forgotten with the new design.
We're right there with making this her forever home.
A great story about a Great Dane. How this dog survived weeks in Utah's cold and snow and the community effort to track her down.
A teen playing soccer tackled and pinned down by police in Provo.
I was just so confused and scared.
But officers got it wrong. What they're saying about the incident tonight. A Utah House committee finally heard the bill for a new state flag today. The bill's sponsor, Riverton Senator Dan McKay, says he's not trying to get rid of the current state flag. He even amended his bill to allow it to be a historic flag. In today's hearing, some accused the senator of canceling the existing flag, while others say it's time for a change.
Woke, politically correct mobs are erasing history across American states in statues, names of institutions, and now flags.
I don't think the current Utah flag does what flags are supposed to do, does what flags want to do. Flags want to be displayed, they want to be waved.
We feel like the symbols on the flag are so significant to us. The sago lilies, the beehive, the eagle.
The flag bill passed committee on a 7-2 vote. It now goes to the full House for consideration.
Well, the latest liquor bill has some questioning if what's old is new again. One aspect of the bill would require restaurants that want to have a special liquor license for private parties to install an opaque wall. Now, if that sounds familiar, it's because restaurants used to have what were called Zion curtains, which prohibited you from seeing drinks being made. The head of the Salt Lake Area Restaurant Association says it's a little impractical.
Unfortunately, it's an impossibility for restaurants to be able to serve a big group of people, which what this license does is helps parties take place in restaurants, but you can't do it. You can't bring in large groups of large trays of food, large trays of waters, or whatever they're bringing into that room when there's a big wall there.
The bill does a lot of other things the industry does like. There are 20 new bar licenses and 35 new restaurant licenses. And you can take your drink from the bar area of a restaurant back to your table, just as long as an employee escorts you.
A pair of bills dealing with the Great Salt Lake have passed the Utah House. One we told you about yesterday bans watering lawns in northern Utah from October 1st to April 25th, but it no longer demands conserved water be shepherded to the Great Salt Lake. Instead, it now asks water districts to do that. The bill now goes to the Utah Senate. Another bill passed the legislature that studies property taxes tied to water. Right now, a lot of the water you use is paid for by property taxes instead of the rates you pay. That ride may be over as Utah continues to grapple with the drought.
Well, the Senate tonight passed a proposed constitutional amendment on the earmark for education in the income tax. The bill is still being negotiated with education groups. Lawmakers are proposing to keep the earmark, but the state could dip into the fund for other budget needs. This is part of a larger deal to voters. The state will remove the state portion of the sales tax on food if voters approve that constitutional amendment. If it all comes together before the end of the legislative session this coming Friday. If so, you vote on it in 2024.
A bill to bring back PhotoCop has narrowly passed the Utah Senate. It utilizes radar that takes a picture of your car in school or construction zones, and then if you're speeding, mails you a ticket. On a 15-13 vote, Layton Senator Jerry Stevenson's bill made it through. It now speeds off to the Utah House of Representatives.
All right, what a sound to wake up to in the middle of the night. This video coming in from Scott Higgins. I don't know if you'll remember that last night during the 9 p.m. news, I said, if you capture thunder snow tonight, I want to see it. So thank you to all of you who submitted videos to me on Facebook and Instagram and our Utah's Weather Authority group. It's been so fun to see those videos. I slept right through it, but I woke up to some grapple at my house this morning. So we had those little Dippin' Dots out there, and we have more snow on the way. Likely not as strong of a front as what we saw last night, but still some pretty big impacts will be possible, particularly across southwest Utah over the next couple of days. So for northern Utah, let's go ahead and zoom in. Our I-15 corridor primarily minor impacts, areas of widespread, but mainly light snow expected for tomorrow morning. Could see some moderate snow at times. We'll see some travel impacts for our northern and central mountains throughout the day tomorrow. And then we'll have some extreme weather impacts for the mountains of southwest Utah throughout tomorrow and into early Thursday. Pine Valley Mountain, Zion National Park, Brian Head, that's where we're expecting our biggest travel impacts across the state. For the Wasatch Front tonight, snow is likely late tonight, mainly about 3, 4, 5 a.m. We'll have some numerous snow showers for the morning drive tomorrow. And then throughout the day, it's going to be widespread for snow and breezy. And for southern Utah, we're likely going to have a snow or a rain-snow mix throughout the day tomorrow into Thursday morning. For Salt Lake City, we are this red line. So at about 5, 6 a.m., we go from scattered to numerous showers for the late part of the morning drive. That's when we would be most likely to see some more travel impacts. And then throughout the day tomorrow, our precipitation chances will start to go back down for the evening commute. But I just want to show you guys for Salt Lake, Ogden, and Provo, we very well could see slick roads. And as you know, we don't need a ton of snow on the roads to end up with some slow commutes. So you take one vehicle, one truck going too fast for the conditions and can set up a whole chain reaction of events. So just leave yourself some extra time and extra space on the roads tomorrow morning. Make sure everyone else around you is doing the right thing too. Temperatures right now here across the state, mainly around freezing. Many of us right around 30 to 35 degrees. We're going to continue with chances for snow. Right now, mainly Elko further west, but we're starting to see a little bit of that snow filling in for the mountains of southwest Utah right now. It's getting going down towards Zion National Park, Pine Valley Mountains. But wind will also be a concern. Areas of blowing snow into tomorrow we'll have at 7 o'clock in the morning. Wind about 15 to 30 miles per hour for much of the state. And then throughout the day, very gusty, particularly into Nevada and down towards the Four Corners. So by tomorrow morning, we've got the chance for some widespread snow here across the state. Temps about 20 to 30 overnight. Cloud covers trapping some heat at the surface, really not cooling off too much. For the Wasatch Front tomorrow, we've got chances for snow mainly through lunchtime, and then we're going to have breezy conditions. And then tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we're about 30 to 40 here across Utah. So we could see some rain mixing in at times, depending on how much you warm up at your location. We'll continue with some snow impacts across southern Utah through Thursday morning, and then the storm will make its way off to our southeast. St. George 45 tomorrow, 50 on Thursday, close to 60 this weekend for Salt Lake, near 40 degrees tomorrow, 35 on Thursday. More chances for snow Friday and this weekend. More on that in your Super 7-day forecast.
Thanks, Allison. See you soon. Straight ahead, the Supreme Court hears oral arguments on whether President Biden's student loan forgiveness program can stand. What this case means for you.
Today, the Biden administration announced the application process for semiconductor manufacturers to receive federal funding to make more products here at home. This comes after Texas Instruments announced an $11 billion facility expansion to the wafer fabrication plant in Lehi. That is expected to bring at least 800 jobs to the Beehive State.
And so over the coming months, you'll see new funding announcements targeting different parts of the supply chain, including research and development, which also happens a lot in Utah, to make sure that we have the next generation semiconductors we need, and we have all the pieces of the puzzle to make these things in the U.S.
The U.S. currently produces just 12% of the world's computer chips. The Chips for America funding program will begin accepting applications by the end of March.
Supreme Court experts say President Biden's student loan forgiveness program is in limbo tonight. The Supreme Court heard arguments about the program today. Several conservative justices painted the case as a test of checks and balances between Congress and the president, which may indicate they plan to block the loan forgiveness. A decision is expected later this year.
If this moves forward, what does it mean for you?
Let's go in depth for you right now. The earliest a decision will be made on this case is 30 days from today, from now. If you're like the average Utahn, your student debt is $32,800, so it could mean a significant reduction in what you have to pay. If you were a Pell Grant recipient, you can receive $20,000 off your federal student loans. Now, if you are a regular student borrower with no Pell Grants, you can receive up to $10,000 off federal student loans. Here's what you should do now to prepare.
Those of us who haven't looked at our student loans since March of 2020, because we've been on a hiatus, you need to go to studentaid.gov. You need to log in. It's completely secure. You need to update your contact information. It's really important. If you're going to receive information from your servicer, we need your new email address. We need your new phone number. We need your new mailing address. We need everything we can possibly get.
Making sure your contact info is up to date will ensure that you eventually will see a change in your loan balance. This also applies to those making $120,000 or less a year, $200,000 for a joint filer.
Two cultures learning.
And living together.
But what does it feel like to be Black in Utah?
To exist in a largely white community.
While also blending as one.
We had an honest conversation with our neighbors who live and love and work here.
Each with different experiences, some good, some not so good.
And after 1 year, we've gathered again.
It's a look at each other.
And ourselves. Coming up after the break.
Utah's Black citizens make up only 1.5% of the state's population, but their contributions are disproportionately large. They occupy virtually every walk of life and work in every industry. Bob?
Kelly, you may remember last year, Fox 13 News gathered a group of Black Utahns to see what it's like for them in this largely white community. We learned about near daily microaggressions. Not necessarily overt racism, but certainly demeaning and often offensive things. A kind of polite racism. And we reflected on Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. Well, this year, Fox 13 News anchor Robin Oginye and I gathered much of that same group to see whether the needle has moved at all. For those of you who joined us, thank you very, very much. So we've got Rebecca and Brandon and Pamela and Ramon and Raphael and Esther and Judy. And I think this is a good starting point. If you feel like the needle has moved at all, or has the needle stayed where it has been?
I mean, as far as the needle goes, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily moved. I mean, when we're talking about, it's been decades since that speech. A year is not that much time.
I'm not making excuses, but it's really hard when you're in a bubble to see the outside perspective.
As more people migrate here from different cities, we're trying to make more of an effort.
So there's an age group that has a hard time moving the needle. So it's the kids that are pushing for me, pushing for that. And that's why they are called rebellious.
I am new here, and I feel like for my 2 months here, a lot of times I've felt invisible. So I kind of want to know, have you guys ever felt that while you're here?
It was different for me, but I did feel invisible for the first year I was here. I ended up connecting with Ramon, and I felt that embrace.
At the same time, there are certain times where it's like all eyes are on me, right? You walk into the room and you're the only Black person in the room. You can feel, people in their head, wheels turning, like, who is that? That's part of the Utah experience.
I can't help but think that there are times when all of you feel, when you're not seen, how lonely that must get.
I don't live near this barbershop, but I come here every week. I can get my hair cut down in Orem, which is 45 minutes away, but I drive up here every week specifically for this environment.
My sister was a cheerleader, and so something as simple as her hair, all the cheerleaders, you style your hair in a certain way, and she'd have maybe braids, or maybe she has her short little fro. She might not feel seen because I can't style my hair that way. Like, how do you want me to look like? But there's no one else that looks like her.
When somebody comes to my business for an interview and goes through me to find a manager, that's where I felt not seen.
As African Americans, we are harder on ourselves to perform, it feels like we have to perform better than our white counterpart.
But I mean, is that not exhausting?
And it does get exhausting. Having a race talk was drained me of like my entire day. So I've designated myself, like here I guess in Utah, to be able to talk to people about black hair, black culture, wherever I can. I'll say this is just my opinion. There's probably someone else with a different opinion.
Sometimes it takes something huge for someone to finally see, oh, maybe I should take a look into this.
Where does that lead us? When you love your blackness and you teach your children to love theirs, then what then is the end result?
This is the end result, right here. Right here, right there. You have strong, beautiful black women. I guarantee you her mother taught her how to love herself, to love her blackness.
Black men in Utah and black women in Utah are treated differently. Talk to me about that.
My husband has had it more than me. He decided to go into hospice, and there is so many racist people in their last days.
When it comes to like safety, sometimes like I get worried sometimes more for my brother than for myself, because black men get shot all the time, and so then I feel like black men get seen more as a threat.
I really
get that here.
It's
really?
When you attach aggressiveness to a black man, it's like calling him the N-word. It really is.
Well, you can't even have a discussion. It's like I didn't raise my voice. I didn't use any kind of foul language towards you. So why are you being threatened by me right now?
I think there's no in between with like a black male. Is like you either idolize him or you're afraid of him, because he's either a superstar like athlete or he's a thug.
Robin got here just after the Donovan Mitchell revelations came out.
He said, "It's no secret there's a lot of stuff that I dealt with being in Utah off the floor. If I'm being honest with you, I never really said this, but it was draining."
Let's talk about the effect of Donovan saying that.
I feel bad for him. That's unfair to have to carry that burden. Just becoming the voice of an entire group of people.
What do you think of the reaction he got? I think the word I heard the most was ungrateful.
To say somebody's ungrateful for them to shoulder something that they really don't have to is unfair.
I hear shut up and dribble.
That's all over that.
It's not that overt racism, but that's real close to bumping up against it. Like, you better dance or dribble a ball or do something to come entertain us, or just be quiet.
Well, are we understanding each other and our cultures any better now in 2023?
Yes and no. I think you just have to be like Donovan Mitchell and just do your part.
We're not looking at trying to get to the end of the book. We're trying to just get through the first couple of chapters.
Progress isn't linear, and progress is not inevitable. It's not a given.
What do we do, Rebecca?
We all have to work together, and it's like we can't just rely on one person, like one big entertainment person or one person to be the spokesperson. We all got to be doing our part.
Realistically speaking, if all of our customers were black, all black businesses would fail.
We got everyone's attention, but I felt like it fizzled out and it went nowhere. And sometimes I feel like we don't know what we want to happen, but we know exactly what's wrong. If we knew what we wanted and we could be unified in that mission, then that would actually, I think, move the needle.
I just think as black people, African American people, it is very important to know your roots and remember it. I think too, like everyone has said, we got to continue to do the work, and it is exhausting and it is tiring. But I guess, patience, and we got to keep chipping away.
Now, like last year, what you just saw was only 6.5 minutes worth of a more than an hour-long conversation. We also touched on critical race theory. We touched on integrating black history into U.S. history, and what Dr. King called the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. It was a fascinating and enlightening conversation. We would highly encourage that you go to fox13now.com to watch the entire interview. And at last word, it was just about uploaded, the entire hour-plus interview. And so we're hoping it's uploaded onto the website right now, fox13now.com.
Yeah, you can check it out there. Bob, thanks so much.
You bet.
Well, continuing our coverage at the end of Black History Month, tonight the organization Black Physicians of Utah kicked off Women's Health Week with a movie screening to address high mortality rates during childbirth among Black and Indigenous Americans. Hosted at the David Eccles School of Business, the movie showcased was Aftershock, a documentary about 2 African American women who died during childbirth.
We need to make the experience of motherhood one that is cherished and one that every woman can look forward to without being panicked about the fact that there is the reality of maternal mortality that is unfortunately too high in the United States for a developed country that we are.
We're told the turnout for the movie screening was bigger than expected. Organizers hope tonight's event can spur more discussion and awareness on the subject.
It was pretty harsh for me because it just happened so unexpectedly.
Coming up, a 16-year-old Provo teen, Provo boy, shares his story of being tackled by police in a case of mistaken identity.
Plus, Salt Lake City leaders break ground on a mixed-use, mixed-income, and transit-oriented development on the city's west side. We're going to give you a closer look.
And snow is starting in southwest Utah right now and moving towards Wendover. What to expect overnight and for your morning drive. We'll be right back.
We're now hearing from the 16-year-old who was tackled by Provo authorities by mistake over the weekend. 16-year-old Uriel Bizabal was playing soccer at Ice Peaks Arena Sunday night when officers and bail bondsmen tackled him. They mistook him for a suspect who was wanted for aggravated assault and being a restricted person with a firearm. They figured out what happened pretty quickly and let Uriel go, but he is still trying to process what happened.
These officers came up to me, just tackled me down, put their knees on my back, and I was just so confused and scared.
Uriel's father, Raul, is thankful nothing happened to his son, but is scared by what could have happened. He wants to share that so this doesn't happen to anyone else.
Today, leaders in Salt Lake City's west side broke ground on a new mixed-use development at 1490 West North Temple, backed by $15.5 million in city funds. What stood on the land before was the Overnighter Motel. That's a place that residents and leaders say caused problems for the community. Now, in a few years, the land will be turned into mixed-income housing and retail space with on-site childcare and other community amenities.
This is taking what was once a blight in our neighborhood and a source of stress, and it's turning it to a source of hope, a place for families to rebuild, to reclaim their lives, to have upward mobility, for their kids to be nurtured, for our community to come together. It is a complete redemption of things that have gone wrong for the West Side.
Some residents are excited, but not all community members are sold on the plan. Some residents did not want to go on camera, but told Fox 13 News they are worried this is another act of gentrification by the city. Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall says the city asked the neighborhood what they want and need before investing in projects like this.
Still ahead, when the Horizon movies starring Kevin Costner come out, you'll see some familiar scenery, how shooting in Utah is impacting those rural communities.
We're right there with making this her forever home.
Plus, a Great Dane survives 2 weeks in the wild amid the cold and snow. How a Utah community came together to track her down.
Well, coming up in sports, it's a big week for high school basketball with the 5A and 6A state tournaments. And the Jazz hoping to give the Spurs their 15th straight loss. Could they beat San Antonio twice in a row? The highlights are on the way.
Live look right now in southwest Utah. This is I-15 milepost 23. This is in Leeds, so between St. George and Cedar City. Snow is starting to come down right now in southwest Utah. We have winter storm warnings tonight through Thursday morning for this portion of the state, and brand new winter weather advisories issued for the Utah Valley tomorrow morning in Provo and Orem. I'll let you know what to expect for the morning drive coming up.
Allison, thanks so much. After nearly 2 weeks of fending for herself in snowy and cold conditions, a Great Dane may have found her forever home.
And she is one lucky pup. 11-month-old Luna is now being fostered by Matthew and Elise Wood. They're from Saratoga Springs. They were made aware of her after seeing people post on the Ring app about a dog wandering in the area. The Woods and many others started searching for Luna. On Sunday night, the Woods were able to corral her behind some homes in their neighborhood and eventually took her to an animal hospital in Cottonwood Heights.
We get a phone call saying that her current owner was not coming and she actually didn't want her anymore.
Her paws are kind of worn down, or really worn down, especially her rear ones. Frostbite, dermatitis, she's about 30-40 pounds underweight.
The Woods say Luna may also need surgery on one, if not both of her eyes. A GoFundMe page has been started for her vet bills and recovery. We do have a link on our website, fox13now.com.
Producers are now casting the second part of the Western series Kevin Costner is filming here in Utah. The Utah Film Commission says crews are scouting locations and gearing up for a busy spring, with many of those shoots in rural Utah. Kane County Film Commissioner Kelly Stoll says last year was the busiest he'd seen in the last 12. He believes that's due to a rural incentive passed in the legislature last year.
We have the landscapes, we have the support services and the resources and the crew to make things happen.
It is an exciting time to be a part of the film industry. We've seen such a huge growth, especially in rural Utah, and I think the rural communities have really been excited to see the economic impact in their backyard.
Virginia Pierce there with the Utah Film Commission spoke to us from the set of a TV show at the Utah Film Studios in Park City. She encourages Utahns to get involved by checking out their website, utahfilm.org, for casting calls and other opportunities.
Right now, there is something going on in the sky, and I did a little research to get some clarification. The phenomenon is being coined as the kissing planets. Now, the scientific term is a conjunction of Venus and Jupiter. The two planets are going to be very bright and appear to be very close together, as if they were getting a kiss from each other. Now, this isn't an overly rare occurrence, but it is unusual. I zoomed with Utah's NASA ambassador, Patrick Wiggins, this evening to find out where to look to see the planets just 1.5 degrees apart tomorrow night.
Basically, look in the western sky right after sunset. Matter of fact, people with good eyesight might even see it just before sunset. Just look for the two dots that will be very close together.
Yeah, be on guard. Patrick tells me he actually saw the conjunction tonight from Tooele, but the best view will be tomorrow night. That is, if the clouds, of course, don't cover that view of the kissing planets, Allison.
That's right. And I also talk about this all the time. Maybe it's because I'm such a nerd, but I have a stargazing app that I love that you can just move around the sky and it goes off of GPS and you can click on each planet, learn a little bit more. So that could be something to look into as well, different star gazing maps. Now here in Salt Lake tonight, it's 37 currently. It feels like it's 29 degrees. Visibility is a full 10 miles right now, but as you mentioned, we do have a lot of clouds. First, let's talk about our main weather alerts and headlines. We have winter storm warnings for the northern mountains through tomorrow at 5 p.m. Brand new, just issued winter weather advisories that now include Utah County. 1 to 3 inches of snow expected in this area, 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. tomorrow. That could certainly impact the morning drive. We'll also see some areas of snow here, Salt Lake County, Weber and Davis counties tomorrow morning also. So for southwest Utah, we have winter storm warnings taking us through Thursday morning at 5 a.m. We're starting to see some snow coming down right now in southwest Utah and also in northern Nevada. And then into the overnight hours, we are going to end up with more widespread snow here across basically the entire state, or most of the state, I should say. So St. George, once you get up towards Leeds, that's where we see the transition up towards New Harmony for some snow over towards Zion National Park. Bryan Head at 10 o'clock tonight, we're going to see those temps starting to cool a little bit, really not that bad, around 25 to 35 degrees tomorrow morning. And then throughout the day tomorrow, we're going to continue with temperatures mainly in the 30s. So our chance of precipitation in Ogden tomorrow will be widespread. And then heading into Thursday night and Friday, we're looking at more widespread chances for snow. And then again, Saturday into Saturday night. So more chances for snow on and off through much of the 7-day forecast. For Provo, your best chances will be tomorrow, widespread, Wednesday, and then by Friday scattered, and then more chances Saturday night into early next week. And for St. George, basically tomorrow and tomorrow night, then you get a free pass. You're pass and go. You've got great conditions. Your close is 60 this weekend. So how much snow are we talking about? That's a great question. We'll break it down for you right now. Northern Mountains, 8 to 16 inches. Wasatch Back, 5 to 10. Valleys, 1 to 4. Benches, 3 to 6. Central Mountains, 8 to 16, 4 to 12 for Southwest and South Central Utah. Bryce Canyon Country, 6 to 12 inches, and Southern Mountains, 12 to 24 inches. Now for St. George, you're in the mid-40s for tomorrow, 50 degrees on Thursday, then close to 60 this weekend. So get through tomorrow. You have rain and some snow mixing in at times tonight, tomorrow, and tomorrow night. For Salt Lake, widespread snow tomorrow and breezy, 39 for a high. Still breezy on Thursday at 35. We have good air quality the next couple of days. And as we break down our snow chances here in Salt Lake City, our best chances are going to be tomorrow, widespread, Thursday night into Friday, and then as we head into this upcoming weekend. And we'll continue with cold, wet conditions, not only through this 7-day forecast, but also continuing through week 2, and that will take us through the middle of March.
The Jazz wrapped up a 3-game homestand tonight before heading out on a 6-game road trip. They played the Spurs for the 2nd straight game after handing them their 16th straight loss, or 14th straight loss on Saturday. Jazz All-Star Lauri Markkanen off to a great start, gets the steal on one end, then he pushes it the other way, all the way to the rim. He had 14 points alone in the first quarter. Here's Simone Fontecchio, the Walker Kessler. The rookie throws it down. He had 10 points, 15 rebounds. Then it's Talon Horton-Tucker with the hammer. 2 of his 16 points. The Jazz trailed by 2 at the half. How about the spin move by Markkanen? Oh, then he goes in the third quarter, rocks the rim, finished with 28 points, 10 rebounds. Chris Dunn has made the most of his 10-day contract. The steal and the speed for the Jam. He had 11 points. The Jazz were up by 5, but the Spurs closed out the game on a 10-1 run to win at 102-94, ending their 14-game losing streak. The Jazz fall to 31 and 32. 6A boys state quarterfinals at Weber State. Lone Peak took on Davis. Luke Fotheringham with it for the Knights off the glass. He led Lone Peak with 17 points. On the other end, Caden Egan. 3 is money. He led Davis with 17 points. Isaac Stanley played well for Lone Peak. Bucket in the foul. He had 13 points. Davis down 2 late in the game. This 3 was for the win, but it's no good. Lone Peak won it 54-52 to advance. Quarter Canyon played Westlake. This game belonged to the Chargers. Kalen Lewis, the nice move and scores. He had 16 points for Quarter Canyon. Then it's Brody Kozlowski for 3. 3 of his 19 points. Jackson Roberts led the way for the Chargers, the steal and the throwdown. He had 22 points. Quarter Canyon won it 83-53 to move on. It was Syracuse and Cypress in game 3. This is Caden Jackson right here. Corner 3's up, and it's good. He led the Titans with 17 points. Quentin Meza took over for Cypress in the 4th quarter. Throws it up while he's going down, put the Pirates up 2. Then he elevates and gets the friendly bounce. 3 of his 31 points, leading Cypress to a 58-56 win, advancing to the semis. American Fork took on Fremont. The Cavemen go inside out. Tiger Cuff for 3. He had 14 points, led AF. Then it's Ashton Wallace. Pulls up and jumper. He had 12 points. And you know the coach has confidence in you. When you miss a 3, get it right back and take it again and make it. Traden Hogan led the Silver Wolves with 17 points, but J.R. Turley knocking down the 3. American Fork won at 57-52 to advance. We'll be right back.
Thanks for being part of Fox 13 News at 9.
Quickcast is next.